All right, guys, welcome to the next episode of Petrol Llama. We are back to high school friends. This week, I have my really good friend Josh Myatt on. Josh and I were in Young Life together. We went to Sadie Hawkins together. We have lots of good stories from high school. So, welcome, Josh Myatt.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of
I must
course.
say, since this podcast has started, um, I have incorporated "she spits straight gas" into my daily vernacular.
I would be lying if I said that I didn't listen to just the intro sometimes when I'm having a bad day.
Is phenomenal. You don't even need like a podcast. Like if that's just like all you had and like no episodes. This would be a success.
It would be. It would be. Yeah. My friend Xander wrote it, recorded it, worked with a mix person, and made it awesome. So, all shout outs to Xander.
Is the beginning of it, is that like a organic, like from a conversation or something that came up, or was that a part of just
Yeah, that was a
creating it?
conversation I had with Dave Chappelle, and he just like,
I thought it sounded familiar.
yeah, yeah. So probably it's like a mix of a lot of conversations I have on a daily basis. I don't know, it's crazy.
That must be hard, just having to deal with all the compliments, and so it gets
It's
overwhelming.
so hard. Yeah, no one talks about it. It's like really hard being funny and pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a little kind of low key basis, but yeah, up here it's kind of the same. Me and my wife kind of get in some arguments about it.
That's the only
I'm
thing
just,
you guys argue about is how funny and
I'm,
attractive you are.
I'm like, babe, this is what you signed up for. I don't know how else to tell you this.
You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, we've been through it. This is part of the job.
I didn't just wake up and become attractive one day.
So this is my burden,
Oh my God. Well, Josh, like, I don't know, I was kind of thinking about it beforehand. And, I've talked about here on this podcast about my high school experience and that it was super hard. And I know you went through stuff too, but I think from the outside looking in, that would be hard for people to know. I mean, you were quarterback of the football team. You were popular, you had tons of friends, from an outsider's perspective, had everything together. What was your actual experience like?
It's crazy to hear that from you, because like in the moment, and I'm guessing is maybe the way for many folks. It just doesn't feel that way at all, or it didn't feel that way at all. It was just a lot of your just hoping however you're acting, and however however you're trying to portray yourself in front of people, you're just hoping that's accepted, and that for lack of a term, the right people think it's cool what you're doing. So I remember being just so I would just get paralyzed sometimes, because it felt like if something embarrassing happened to you. I want to say, like, specifically, I feel like if like a weird like sexual story came out about you, like, just fill in the fill in the blank. Something awkward happens or something, or I feel like if that got out, it felt like it ruined. It felt like it ruined you, and I was so afraid. I was so afraid of something occurring that would be embarrassing, because it really did seem like it would you wouldn't live it down ever again. So I spent a lot of that time just trying to navigate, like, what's the safest, like, path of least resistance here. And it led to not as many embarrassing. I'm not saying I didn't have any embarrassing stories, but I avoided a lot of them. But it also led to, like, uh, so much time, it just led to a lot of time wasted about like what what you're thinking, what you think other people are thinking about you, or
Totally.
what you're doing is portrayed. Um, and then I'm still really gifted. One of my biggest gifts is I'm able to invalidate anything I do. Like I can create anything that I've accomplished, done, anything. I can turn it into like a negative, or that it's not
Yep.
that big of a deal.
Or
And
that I didn't actually deserve it, or that, I just lucked
yeah,
into it versus earned it.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah. And
And
if you want to shut me up like the fastest way possible, bring up that I was a quarterback in high school. That I immediately like freeze up. I immediately think I'm like Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite, and I'm being that guy that's like
like a
rehashing the
like a high school hero kind of thing.
yeah, I'm not going to talk about like a random game that like doesn't matter anymore.
Okay, that's great, because I feel like 98% of high school quarterbacks don't do that. So
I will tell, this is my one
oh God,
football
here it
story.
comes.
And then I'll go, it's not even from varsity. It's when I was on junior varsity, which is when you're not good enough to play with the big boys quite yet. And so I'm playing quarterback. I can't remember who we were playing, but it was the most important game of the year, of course, at the time. And we're about to score a touchdown. We're like on the 5-yard line, like super close. And if we score, we would be up. And it was, I think it was in the fourth quarter, I believe.
You would win the world championships.
Would have been all the trophies, fame, like
women.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. Oh gosh, just I can already tell I'm not going to sleep tonight because this is already just like hanging over my head. But anyways, so the coach calls a timeout and he calls a special play that we haven't practiced before. He's like, okay, you're going to do like Josh, you're gonna fake handing it off to this guy, and then you're going to go around and you're gonna score. And we're gonna get it. I'm like, all right, we're good. So I go up, and so I go up under center to take the snap. And right before I do that, I'm like, I want to make sure the guys behind me, the running backs, that they know that they're on the same page. And so I turn around, I'm like, hey, like, we good. They give me the thumbs up. Little do I know, from the moment I like turned around to look at him and turning back, I apparently took a couple of steps too many to the left. And unbeknownst to me, I am standing under the wrong person to receive the snap. And so I do the whole like ready, set, hut. And when I say hut, the ball just goes soaring to my right about 20 yards the wrong way. And the other team's, of course, it just bounces perfectly into the other team's hands, and he goes like 95 yards for a touchdown, and that ended up being the difference of the game. We go on to lose, and I'll never forget. I'm on the sidelines, and I'm already like thinking like, okay, like I can pack up tonight. Maybe we can
high schools.
Yeah, like we're only an hour and a half away from Houston. I can just go hide there forever. It'll be easy, and we'll figure it out. And I'm over there, and one of the varsity guys, who was a friend of mine, he came over and he's trying to encourage me. But he doesn't know what happened. He just thought it was like something crazy happened and the ball flew up and the other team got it. And so he's like, man, like it's okay, like it happens, like you gotta bounce back, like the game's not over. I'm like, no, you don't understand, man. like I really just like did the stupidest thing ever. He's like, what could you have done? Like, what happened? And I explained it to him, and he just stops and he's just like and he's just like, you can tell he's trying not to laugh, but the message has been sent. And he's just like, I'm sorry, man. And he just like walks off laughing. And that was the
Oh
end of
my
that.
God. That's
And that's,
wild.
yeah.
That is
And I
wild.
think, yeah, I think you mentioned in a past episode how families, they tend to bring up stories that you'd rather forget. And that story is probably like a top five, top three on like the Myatt rehash.
It's funny because like
Stories.
our parents are still good friends.
They
And
are.
I feel like our dads are really similar in the way that if they give you a really hard time, that means they like you.
Yes. This is this has been a lesson I've had to teach my wife, is that my dad making fun of you and poking fun at you is a term of endearment. It's not it's not a bullying tactic.
My dad actually had to have a sit down with my sister-in-law because she was like, it really bothers me that you make fun of me all the time. And his response was, what you should be worried about is when I stop making fun of you.
That's such like a Texas like football coach. It's like,
right?
when I'm not coming down on you, that's when
That's when I don't care anymore. No, but you were saying earlier, it's like you're so afraid of being the thing that everyone's talking about the next day. And I think what's tough too is like, as much as you try and avoid that, there's still stories about you that you're like, excuse me? Like, I wasn't there for that. So how can that possibly be the story about me? I remember there was like a phase in high school where everyone thought I was a slut and sure did tell me about it. And I was
I remember that. I mean, that's terrible. That's terrible.
And I was a virgin in high school. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I would have loved to have been there for this. What did I do?
Yeah, girls had it rough there. It seems like it just felt like if somebody just wanted to, they could start something. And I couldn't remember there really was a burn book. That was like unbelievable.
Did you know about that in high school, or was that news?
I never saw it, but I remember hearing about it. And also funny is I saw Mean Girls with like 5 of my guy like high school friends there, and we were just like roaring. There's like only like teenage girls and like kids in there. We're just like losing it.
It's honestly a solid movie, plenty of one-liners. I mean, it's good. It's really good. And the burn book person gets hit by a bus. So
yeah,
if that's not a lesson, I don't know.
Yeah, but I can remember just like being in like those conversations and like hearing something about someone else. Like that almost like made me just as afraid to like not want to screw something up, because just like experiencing, and not I'm not completely free of this. I had my share of probably participating because I really wanted to get a laugh and or I wanted to be seen too. So I know like it's something I look back on and it's just like not worth it. But it was crazy just like hearing those stories about someone else, and getting away and you're like, man, if that happens to me, I'm like, I'd be done for. Like, I guess I gotta avoid this.
But you're so right. I definitely wasn't a person to stop it when someone was telling it to me. I wanted to know more. I was like, give me that dirt, spill the tea, sis, let's go. But I totally regret that. I wish I would have been braver. I wish I would have been like a little bit better. I wish I would have been a better woman to other women there.
Yeah. I get like 3 more likes on my Facebook post though, so maybe it's kind of worth it.
Hey, Bridget! No. Sorry. Bridget's going bananas today. So speaking of, how would you describe me in high school?
It was fun. So I think it was on Jessica's episode.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned that you're a really good dancer, and that was something I didn't know, because that's another high school thing. I don't know if regret's the right word, but it's something you look back on and you're like, man, that's just dumb. But high school dances, I think, are like the most awkward thing in the world, because it's all about like you're not even dancing. It's all like trying to attempt to like grind on each other. At least that's what was my experience. It was like, hey, you want to dance? And then I gotta act like I'm doggy styling some girl on the dance floor. I remember one guy came up to me. He's like, "Man, you look kind of weird, like on the dance floor." I'm like, "How do you look cool doing doing this?" Like, I couldn't imagine being like a teacher or a principal, like having to watch that. But for some reason, that was the acceptable thing. I'm guessing it still is.
Yeah,
But
I'm pretty sure the teens aren't less wild than we were.
it was always funny. Like it was everyone, like whatever walk you're in, whatever walk of life you're in. When it came to the high school, it was in the lunchroom. Wherever you were in the high school lunchroom, you were bending over or
Yeah, or being bent over.
Bending over to your knees and touch your elbows, however the song goes.
Yeah, it's so wild that it was in the cafeteria. I totally forgot that. We had to go and eat lunch there the next
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I just had steak fingers here on Thursday. What's going on? But to answer your question,
Okay.
not trying to avoid it, but so I felt like you and I we got closer as friends senior year when we were in Young Life together, and like I remember, we did probably just mentioned about like our the insecurities that you have just dealing with friends and trying to navigate like those circles. But I remember that you were a person that I did not feel like those stakes with. Like I remember hanging around with you. We'd be laughing and what have you, and I think there was attempts at humor I made with you that I probably wouldn't do any elsewhere, because you have an ability to just make people comfortable around you to be able to be themselves, and that was one of the first experiences I had of that. I was like, oh, this is a friend that even if I do embarrass myself, this person won't go and just make a mockery of me, or this person, nothing's going to change
That's
from
wild,
this.
right? Because like I guess that's a truer sign of a friendship. It's not the person necessarily that you can go and have the most fun with, but the one that you can really fuck up in front of, and it's fine.
Yeah, definitely a lot of my friends then were people I was trying to impress rather than like people I wanted to confide in, or
And I'm
talk
not
about like
someone
hard
you
things
to
with.
impress. Low
I
bar.
I thought I was bad. Just thank goodness.
Oh God. Okay, I don't know if you know this, but our senior year in high school, I had the biggest crush on you.
Uh-oh.
I know you're married now. I'm not hitting on you. I'm just
Hey, no, just go into the other room, babe. It's okay. It's okay.
Did you know?
I still say I don't know what my wife saw me. I am genuinely the worst person at like reading into things like that, because one of my like, along with like not want to be embarrassed and stuff, I had this deathly fear that any kind of like, if I like tried to make a move or try to do something, it was going to be the creepiest thing in the world, because you had those people in high school who just like didn't have quite like the social awareness. They're just kind of like that tact, and that just those things just stuck with me. And for some reason I convinced myself like that, that's what I'm doing. When that happens, I'm just like, man, I'm just making this person like tremble or something. So I was not sure. And then my mom, who was one of the wisest people I've ever met, she was really good at instilling. Like I remember, like my brother, like in junior high or high school or something, he was talking about how someone like got broken up with or dumped or something, and then my mom's like in response was like, it wasn't just like, oh, that's too bad. It was like, well, he should have seen the hints from before or something. So I'm like, you need to like. She was always big about like, hey, like if someone's like not okay with what you're doing, you need to like back off, like back off. And so she was always very respectful in that way. But I guess I went overboard with that, and I always thought anything that wasn't like, if you're not like directly asking me out or telling me that you like me, I'm taking that as like, oh, you're not. She's not it. into me. So
So you dated a
so
lot of
that
girls in high school.
I know I'm like the opposite high school quarterback character. Definitely not that. So but no, I did not know that. And thank you, I guess. I hope I didn't hurt your feelings with my lack of awareness.
I would say the only time it hurt my feelings is when no one asked me to prom my senior year.
Mm,
And I was like, I thought Josh was gonna ask me.
man, I
Way to
know.
break my heart.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't be. Do you remember the piss off Josh game?
Yes, I do.
Do you tell your therapist about it now?
I don't. I have not.
But you should.
And now a lot of pent up emotions are coming back to me. Yes, I remember that. I got, yeah, for the audience. Apparently, me getting like riled up was very entertaining. It still is entertaining. I there's a part of me that's real. I guess is really defensive about things like. Amber would tease me every now and then. She'll get something, and if I feel like she's misunderstanding, I'm like, no, and like she has to like see my side of it and defend it, and then she'll just be smirking at me. So the game is essentially continuing.
I'm glad that
right
Amber took
now.
over the game. Yeah,
Yes.
it was awesome. I would play it with anyone, and I'd be like, whatever Josh disagrees with, just like tenfold in on that.
Do you know how it originated? Like, what was the like start
I
of
want
it,
to
or some version of the
say
start?
it was like Bennett or Judd or someone like that started it, and then they told me about it, and I just was like, you know what I'm good at? This.
Yeah, it's a good encouragement if someone's just like, man, I don't know what my calling is in life. You just be like, hey, you can meet this guy, and just you just say
Yeah.
these couple things, you can have them.
Yeah, it was just like all we had to do was disagree with you on something that you were clearly right on. And then the fun began.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I fell for it every time.
at home, if you know someone like that, play the game.
I remember we had like I remember having a team retreat, and I remember that started, and like I didn't take it like over the top person where I was like angry at all, but I remember being like, and I'm like holding my hands up right now, and I'm like, I don't know what to say anymore because I'm so frustrated. I remember just kind of. Because I remember just kind of like walking away or like walking a lap or something, and I'm like, I don't know like how to respond.
I think
respond
the
to this
part was like one time you actually got pissed off and you were like, I don't know how to end this.
That's what really got me. I was like, this ends when y'all decide for Dan. Like, I don't have any control over it, and that's
not true. If you wouldn't have reacted and you would have been like, yeah, you guys are probably right.
Yeah.
Shit.
I have learned that since, like, just you know, if you're being teased or, you know, something that's not serious, just the more you lean into it, the more fun it's going to be
That's true.
for everyone.
And as much of a dick as I was, you are also the person when I got wasted at our graduation after party, drove me home.
Oh my, yes, that's right.
Yeah, placed me in my house safely. I will never forget, doesn't matter how drunk I was, I just remember this moment. You came up to me and you grabbed me by both shoulders and you said, I think you've done enough tonight. I'm taking you home now. And I was like, I'm having fun. And you were like, you did. You had a lot of fun. And now it's time to go home. You'll thank me tomorrow. Like,
oh my gosh, that's incredible.
yeah. Well, also,
that,
first of all, what a good friend. Thank you.
that was a lot. That was a fun night. I think it was like me. It was me and another friend of mine, Winston. I think.
Yes. Shout out to
We were a couple other guys. We were kind of the designated drivers that night. But that was a lot of fun.
Designated damsel in distress.
It's funny, like that was a night like we were young life leaders and stuff, and we're supposed to be like this really upstanding like Christian example.
Yes,
for everyone,
but one of us was, and one of us was not.
But yeah, but that night was like no holds barred. Anything. Yeah. I think like a month after that, I was like at a rush party, like in the same position that you were that night. So I'm not. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about.
Brag about lasting me. A month longer than me, Jeez.
Yeah, still got my chip.
Okay, wait. Speaking about young life, do you remember the song that you decided was going to be the theme song for the second coming of Christ?
It was Usher and Lil Jon, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would always be like, yeah, we're just sitting around, and all of a sudden, just
yeah, Josh, you did that all the time. If things got awkward, you were,
and we just ascend from there.
Oh my God, we did make God fun.
Yes, I know. Your friend. Who was it? Katerina. The other day, like no wonder. Yeah, of course she came. Of course she came to club that night. You lured her in. I had the white van. It was perfect.
Okay, hold on just a second, Josh. I'm gonna start the second recording.
Okay, perfect.
Record.
I do not remember that at all. The graduation party.
Really?
I remember that. I remember taking you home, but that moment with you, my
mom is always like, that Josh Mott, he's such a good boy. You were such a good guy. You still are, probably. I'm not gonna say that's past tense.
Well, we're only halfway through.
Yeah. Final high school story before I ask you questions from the listeners.
Yeah.
What'd you ask me to help you with senior year?
What did I ask you to help you with?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It was a video.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was like, what did I ask?
Oh God.
Yes. So for anyone out there, when y'all listen to Stephanie and you're like, man, like where did this talent and just extraordinary ability to make people laugh and just to just grip the audience? It all started with a little high school video to help out our friend Judd ask a girl to prom. And the plot was that Judd did not know how to ask out this girl to prom, and so he needed help from the Pimp of the Year in Pimp Magazine, Josh Myatt. That's how much that video's aged well.
Amazing.
So I showed him the ropes, which included going to a nursing home. which we walked in and walked right back out. And then I can't remember what else, but then the grand finale was that I had a long lost love that could give Judd that final push, that final encouragement to ask this girl to prom. And it was our dearly beloved Miss Foster lying in her deathbed. It got dark real quick.
It was wild though, because I had just gotten my wisdom teeth out. So
that's right. Yeah.
I looked like hell. And you and Judd called me and I'm like, oh, that's so nice. They're calling me to check on me after my surgery. Oh my God, these guys are so nice. And then Judd goes, hey, you just got out of surgery, right? Does your face look messed up? Okay, cool. Perfect. And I was like, what? Yeah, so we filmed it and I would love to see it. I still have no idea what I said, but it worked. Christy said yes.
She did say yes. I think they dated for a little bit, like freshman year in college. So it really had a lasting impact. So listen, that was the magic.
My acting skills really just connect people.
The two things that I remember most from it are so spoiler alert for anyone who's going to watch it later. Stephanie does end up passing. She ends up passing while talking to Judd. She ends up dying. And it's the greatest thing. Like when you die, your head like falls to the side and you're dead, and then like as soon as it drops, like your mouth just immediately starts like smiling.
Yeah.
And it's just like clearly cracking up.
Still waiting on my Oscar for that one.
I know, I forgot to submit it. So
if you have that video, please send it to me.
It's at my parents' house. There's like there's a DVD, and I think it's on it. So I need to find it. And the second thing I remember is I was a busboy at Cheddar's, and I was like an hour late to work because of that, just randomly enough. I was like the day I was like, I'm not gonna like be at this job much longer, so who cares? So,
shout out to Cheddar's.
Yes, Scratch Kitchen. So
okay, let's take some questions from the listeners.
Here we go.
What is your best makeout story from high school? And I would turn it to be like, what's your most embarrassing?
Most embarrassing. So so many to choose from. So there was a little soiree at someone's house. It was a swim party, and this was still I think it was freshman year, I think. So it was still like parents hosting and stuff. But anyways, there was a lady, and so we were interested in one another, and so we are getting together, and I'm like, we need a spot to, get a little wild, and so I lead her up, and in like the most obvious way, we have to just walk, and it was a pretty big party. It was like 50 some people, or it felt big at the time. We have to like walk, like I have to try to act conspicuous, taking her along, and the house was 2 stories, and at the very top there's like a TV room, and like right next to the TV room was like a pool table and like a playroom area. And so we walk up, and there's like a group of 6 people playing pool, and I have to walk past them, and I really think I just like walked by. I was like, oh hey, like who's winning? Okay, and then just like mosey into this room and close the door, and then in like classic high school fashion, we sit in this room, and we sit there for like 15 minutes, I think, like watching TV or something. because I'm still in my mind. I'm like, maybe she's not interested.
Still in the head of like,
So yeah,
wants to watch TV, Josh.
And so, but finally, I make a move, and so as this is happening, there's like a gathering commotion outside the door, and because of course the 6 people who saw me walk by with a girl going into a room by ourselves, yeah, and so I hear, and it keeps getting louder and louder outside the door, and so as we're making out, I start hearing the like door handle like start going like that, and like and at that point you're just like, hey, whatever happens, we're just gonna we're just gonna see this through. And at the time it was like a couple of my friends who were trying to help me and defend me were guarding the door, and there was like a group of people like, we need to see this, like what's Josh doing. And like I think a top may have left the couch premises.
Not yours, I assume.
So, no, I decided to just do my do a 2-piece that night. So
you were in a romper, so it was
yeah. I was a trendsetter. So everyone was like thongs and stuff like that. Like that's not the way to go. So anyways, this is probably more like I won't mention who it was because I felt bad for her. But so long story short, the door ends up bursting open, and like a crowd of people come out, and fortunately for both of us, it didn't go, it was just the makeout that happened, and it didn't go any further than that. But unfortunately for her, she had to get caught topless. And then people came in and like are so surprised that something's happened. People are like, oh, they're doing something, oh my gosh. And like they acted all crazy then. And so it kind of killed the mood a little bit.
You don't say.
And then we ended up, I think I was still there. The party still had like a couple hours to go, so I just kind of hung out and played pool after that. I think she left shortly after. So
I could see that.
But that was one that, now looking back, it was kind of like one of those, like one of my first experiences of like the double standard that guys and girls had, because I became like that really boosted my like high school PR that night. And it made me cooler for a day. But I think for her it was more embarrassing, and and I think she was given more of a hard time about it. So
because by the time school rolled around on Monday, not only had you guys made out, but you definitely had sex, and then a third guy came in, and like that's what the story is.
then a third guy, and then so I know that was wild. So that was that's probably the most interesting. There was another one where a stray cat climbed up on me. That was actually my first kiss ended with a cat climbing on top of me in a golf course, no less.
Oh my God.
So, but there's not a lot of build up.
I want to say, but I think it's too obvious.
Just move it along. Just move it along.
Someone would like to know, when did you realize that I was born to be famous one day?
Well, we kind of covered it already. This is just my magnetic show stealing.
My smiling death was the moment.
And it was about, like, the movie was about Judd, but people came away with it just want to talk
Yeah,
about
Christy
Steph's
was like,
performance.
"Did Stephanie ask me to prom? I'm confused."
Yeah, it's like how like Bridesmaids, it's like Kristen Wiig's movie, but people came away talking about Melissa McCarthy. Like that was that prom video.
Yeah, best supporting actress. I got that one.
So that does make I do have one question, I guess, in relation to that, because we were talking about our folks.
Yeah.
They're still friends and what have you, and a lot of quite a bit of your stand up has a lot of inspiration from from your folks, and probably some jokes at their and some jokes at their expense. But y'all are also like still close, and so I was just curious how that was, I guess, when you were first starting to do stand up, and maybe since then, just kind of how's y'all's like relationship evolved, about like, I'm clear, I'm making fun of you, but but I love you.
Yeah, great
Still.
question. It's actually something I've struggled with a lot, of like, can I say this joke? Is it going to hurt their feelings? But that was also my experience. So how do I balance out those two things? And I think in reality, I thought about it and was worried about it way more than they were. My
Yeah.
dad is, who got me into stand up originally. We've been watching stand up since I was a little girl. And so he gets it, right? But yeah, like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy to tell a joke about your first blowjob when your dad's in the audience. It's not easy to, tell a joke that is the sole intent is for everyone in the room to laugh at your parents who are also in the audience. But that being said, like, they are the best sports of all time. My mom has traveled to San Francisco multiple times from Texas to sit in the audience and be ridiculed publicly.
That's awesome.
I will say the first time that my dad saw my stand up, I did tell the blowjob joke, and he laughed harder than anyone. So I didn't like that joke so much after that. So yeah, I think, at the end of the day, it's definitely brought us closer. And I was in Dallas doing some shows, and my whole family came to watch. And that was like such a cool moment for me. Like, I grew up with an uncle who just like teased the hell out of us, and he's so funny and so witty. And so I was so nervous for him to see it, that it wasn't going to be good enough, or it wasn't going to be whatever enough. And I will never forget this moment after the show. My dad was in tears, and he was like, "Stephanie, you've really got something. You're really, really good at this. I've never seen you both be good at and enjoy something so much in your life. You have to keep doing this. Just keep going." And like, I think for most people, all we want is to hear our parents say that, and that they're proud of us, and that they believe in us, and all of those things.
So then he's like, just falls out. He's like, "So you write those blowjob jokes, honey?" Like, we were
Have you
rooting
thought
for you.
about hand jobs?
Yeah.
You want me threesome stories?
Yeah. Here, I got something for you. So.
Yeah, but it's gone better, way better than I expected. I thought there was going to be a lot of apologies because, like, as far as politics and all of those things are concerned, we could not be on more different of pages. So yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah. I think that's a good, I could imagine, but that's kind of like, I think that relationship that y'all have, it's a good reminder that like it's possible to like disagree with one another or just think differently about things, but still have like a good relationship. And I think that says a lot, especially when it comes to like political views. What have you, just because everything is so just hot button, you know, and people
Yeah,
are
and
just
I'll say like it wasn't always pretty. And
Mhm.
that's mainly because of me. You know, when Trump first got elected, I had a really, really hard time with it of how could you possibly vote for someone like that who speaks about women like that, who, you know, speaks about people of color and people from Mexico and all of these things. And so when he got elected, like I actively distanced myself from my whole family.
Mhm.
Um, and I totally regret that, you know. I don't think that that's the way to go. I think there is a middle ground. And I think that there is, you know, at least in my family, there is respect enough for if I want my parents to respect me and all of the different choices I'm making than what they had planned, then I have
Mhm.
to do the same in return.
Mhm.
Um, and I was not doing that. But
That's tough. Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of like a an agreement to not talk about it.
I can
There's
see
lots
that.
of other things that we can talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
we yeah, in my house, if anything politically comes up, I just gradually just like sink lower and lower and lower.
I mean, I will say I still pop off if I hear shit that I'm like, no, that's not okay. We don't say that word. All of those kinds of things. But for the most part, I'm just kind of like live and let live because I want them to let me make my own wild choices as well.
Yeah, hopefully this new era of things can move things forward where we can be able to go back to respectfully disagreeing on things without it having to become a fight.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so
I think the big difference this time around was like, I wasn't angry at them for financial choices they were making. It extended so far beyond that. And it
mm,
affected people that I loved in a very big way. It affected me. And I just kind of wanted to be seen in that, and that it wasn't politics for me.
yeah.
Okay, enough politics. Let me ask you one more
Okay.
question from the Fawns, and
All
then
right.
we'll get into the typical questions.
Cool.
Um, if you look at your life now, what are the pivotal choices that got you where you are now?
Choices.
And I can start if
So
that's helpful.
um, we can popcorn, I guess. When I first uh, so when I saw that question on on Instagram, and I was like, oh man, just like don't like can it just be like a funny story or something? Um, but randomly three came to mind. So yeah, for the high school themed, I had a friend I had a friend come over and spend the night, and we and this is freshman year, so we're little like 14-year-olds trying to buy weed from some senior. um, and I didn't really hit my growth spurt, so I'm like this 5'2", like 105 pound guy. Like, can I have some grass? Uh,
Was he
just
like, listen, son, you must be this tall to ride this ride?
He was like, "What is my life? What has happened?" So so this guy drives up, um, and me and my friend come out, and like I guess we're trying to like act like the movies. We're doing like the whole like looking around, like, "Do you have? We're here for the weed," and he hands it up, and anyways, so we ended up having to like exchange, and he's like, "Is there anything else y'all want? I have some leftover Coke if y'all want any of that."
Oh.
And me and my buddy do like the little like look at each other like we could do cocaine. Like the real brief like split second like this like we could make this night like the most memorable night ever. And
We could make this night the last one.
yeah. We're like, no, we're okay. It was probably like baking soda anyway that he had, but so I bet he could have like sold us anything. But I sometimes I think back, I'm like, man, what if I would have bought coke that night. I wonder just what that would have turned into.
The trajectory is from there.
So I guess something more real life oriented. So I wanted to bring up. So yeah, a few years back, I was like kind of in a place of transition and not knowing what to do, and I reached out to you, and you were still like working in San Francisco,
Mhm.
and you helped me get an interview and to get an internship at the place you were working at, and I don't think and I ended up not taking it, which I feel I feel bad about after reaching out and asking and doing all that, and then deciding like not time. And it was something that it was probably ultimately like fear based, like just the whole like fine. It was I didn't know how I was going to make it work because I was really afraid because you're really kind and you're like I got a couch you can sleep on for the first few weeks or so, um, and I just envisioned myself like I kept envisioning that I was gonna be a real inconvenience to you and that like I wasn't gonna like find another place and I was like gonna be stuck, and you were just gonna have this like guy roommate and we were gonna have those dinners where you'd be like, so have you like had any luck like finding anything? Nope, still looking. Oh well we gotta change that or something. I was really afraid of that I was just gonna be like I was gonna be stuck on the streets there, and it was actually it was actually when Amber and I had just started dating, um, and it was spurned on by that opportunity. I remember we sat down on a bench and I was like, hey, there's this. I'm really thinking about taking this, but this means like me moving and like I don't know what's going to happen from here. I may stay there. It may lead to something back here. I don't know, but I'm gonna like this would mean I'm gone. And we talked for a couple hours or so on this bench, like saying like, hey, is it really like are we really invested in one another to stick it out? Like if I decide to do this, and she was really supportive and honest too. She's like, it would be really hard, but I'm willing. Like I
Did
like
she ask you not to go?
She did not. She was like, long distance is hard. She's like, but this is at the time, this would be like, I didn't really have much, I really didn't have much going. That's how I know my wife really loves me, is because when she met me, I was working at a juice shop and could barely pay rent. So I did not have a strong resume whatsoever.
Amber
And
sounds like a bad bitch.
don't cross her.
Well, I meant it like, first of all, seeing your potential, right? But second of all, not asking you to stay, like letting you make that choice, and that choice not being dependent on if you would still have her or not.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a
it was.
hard thing to do when you know that you could sway and you could use your power, but you decide like, no, I really want what's best for you, and I want you to choose this on your own so you don't resent me one day for it.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't say this to her face or anything, but my wife is really great, and I love her very much. And um, she's really gifted at being supportive, and loving, while also like being honest about it, like her own feelings too, and how it impacts her, um, and just being real um, about stuff. And she's taught me a lot through that. And it started with that night and that opportunity. And I was really like depressed after that, because it turned out I didn't do anything. I didn't move to San Francisco, and I had a chance to work for my dad too as a financial advisor, which I have I have no skill set for being a financial advisor. It was we would be strictly for financial reasons. I would have done it. It was that or just like do nothing, and I didn't do anything at the time. And I thought at the time I was doing something wrong, like I had to make, like that I needed to make some kind of move to show that I'm like pursuing something. And it didn't work out, but luckily just kind of in time, things gradually worked themselves out and got got us here. So but I still like feel really bad about calling you to say like I don't think I'm gonna do this now.
No,
So
no. I mean, obviously you made a good decision. You have a wonderful wife. And everything happens for, not everything happens for a reason. I fucking hate that saying, but everything happens as it's supposed to. And like it's all, what is it called when you have the little ball that drops and then it hits the thing that hits the next thing and then it like goes all the way around.
the dominoes and stuff.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Yeah. I guess that's what the kids tell me.
No, and I think sometimes like the hardest decisions end up being the best ones of something that looks really enticing, but you're like, I don't know what it is, but in my gut, I just can't do this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, that was getting divorced. That was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, but the best decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And then after that, a couple years after, probably one of the biggest impacts now when I think about it was accepting that so yeah, right now I still struggle with depression like really hard, and I'm on medication for it, go to therapy for it. And it was something it started in high school, or really it started in high school, and a lot of that was going on. I wanted to say too, I didn't know if this was going to sound like really sad. And I don't mean anything towards you in any way, but I was very depressed when we went to Sadie Hawkins together. Like I was one of like my hardest
because you had to go with me.
That whole night I was like, she hates this. Like I am such a drag right now. I felt like I was just ruining the night, because I was just gone there. Like that stretch of like what was it, spring semester of junior year. I think that was really like the peak of that, with like being suicidal and just like wanting to get away from everyone there. And it impacted a lot of friendships. And
Yep.
And it was we just talked about it's high school's tough to find those friends that you can kind of express that stuff to, and I didn't have any kind of friend like that, or at least a friend that I believed I could. Like I feel like there may have been, if I would have like given that person a chance. But in my head I was like, this is something I'm alone in. But yeah, it took it came in high school, and then I became a believer at Young Life Camp, and I thought that healed it. I thought Jesus saves and heals it. And but as time went on, I was still having these really hard thoughts, no longer suicidal, but just wanting to like sleep all the time and like isolate, just kind of like bury my head in the sand. And my wife's dad passed away a couple years ago, and for a brief, and it was tough on her, and we did a little bit of like grief counseling together. I wasn't in therapy at the time, and she did some grief counseling, and I came with her a few times and it was originally like to see like, hey, how can I be a supportive husband in this time, because she was having to deal with a lot was when it comes to just like the aftermath and the state and what have you. But so we're in that together, and the counselor, who's now my current counselor, I can't remember what she asked me, but I started like talking about like what I was feeling, and like it turned a lot into like, I just kind of like I just kind of think I'm like the biggest piece of shit ever. Like they essentially I was saying, and she's like, huh, like, can you can you mind just like answering these questions on a scale of 1 to 5? And then I fill them out. I'm like,
form. Yeah, I was like, oh, this doesn't look good.
I'm like, oh, I made a really good grade. That's really high.
Yeah.
And then she's like, so this is actually pretty severe, and I suggest we need to talk more, like just you. And
That
and
was
that was
that was so similar for me. It was like going to the doctor and being like, I mean, luckily in California, they have a lot of medical systems that don't just ask you if your ankle hurts. They're like, so how's your sleep? How's your life going? Would you say your happiness is at a certain level? And then I guess I answered some of those questions and I got the sheet too. And she was like, this is severe.
yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like for you, but I remember being very repellent to wanting to take meds. I felt like it meant there was something wrong with me, which there was. And that, you know, I don't know, that I was weak and I needed help and all of these kinds of things. And what was that like for you?
It was very similar. So when I was going through that in high school, I was also on an acne medication called Accutane, which became very infamous for being a drug that was very encouraged suicidal thoughts and heavy depression.
Yep. And you're like, I already have acne. I don't need help with that.
Yeah. But it's clearing up, just like it's just washing away though.
It looks great. Did I say that?
It's worth putting the gun in my mouth for a few seconds. But sorry, that's too much. So that's what kind of deterred me from there. I knew something was wrong, but I also knew that played a part. It played like an intensifying part in it, because there was stuff that was happening then that doesn't go on now. Not to say like it, anyways, but
yeah.
So when that happened from high school, and when I became a Christian, and I thought like, okay, like I took this medication and had this really hard time, and now I've moved on from it. And then it wasn't until hearing that from the counselor of like, no, what you're thinking is that's not a normal thing, what a healthy person should think, and it's like a very severe case of depression, and we need to address it. And like it was a mixture of like I have like thinking I haven't grown up at all. Like I was like, I'm still that boy from high school, and like nothing has changed. I thought a little bit of that, and that and then it was followed by that I've wasted a lot of years like not thinking about this correctly, or I remember just having all these memories came back of like thoughts I had. I'm like, well, that wasn't healthy here. That was really not healthy. So
I used to travel and be obsessed with bridges because I wanted to find the chicest bridge to jump off of.
Mine was just driving. Like I'm just gonna drive north till whatever happens. Like, and I'm just gonna disappear, and it's gonna look really romantic. I'm gonna be like in a log cabin, and I'll still be like ripped and have like awesome hair, but I'm just gonna be like alone and sad all the time, and people are gonna like feel sorry for me. So yeah, that's how it was for me. I mean, yeah, and in College Station, I'd drive to like from like south to like the water tower, like the College Station water tower. That's like at south side, and then I would drive north all the way to like Calvert or something, or which is like Hearn. Like I just go out there, just keep going north on Highway 6
Yeah.
for like hours, and
Yeah.
finally I'm like, I guess I got to come back.
It actually took me a couple of times to stay on medication. The first time I took it, after like 6 weeks in, you know, when it starts working,
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I feel better. I don't need this shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
You feel better because you're taking it.
Yeah.
So I went off
Yeah.
of it for like a year, and then it got really bad again. And so then I went back on it, and I've been on anxiety and depression meds ever since. And it is the best thing I have chosen to do.
Yeah. I think you bring up a good challenge of like when it comes to like counseling and wanting to like heal. I think there's just like a natural reaction of like, okay, I need to like progress to a certain stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to like continually like getting better and better and better until like until I'm perfect, essentially. So that's probably like been my biggest challenge since is like um I still get like really down and out if I feel like I'm still like in the same place I was a month ago, which is like it's crazy when you like say it out loud and like really think about it, because that's not long at all. But yeah, when you're in those moments, you're like, oh, like I'm not doing anything with my life, I'm not progressing. And
Yeah. Mine
so
comes
I've found
around like at my birthday every year. And I'm like, well, 21-year-old Steph thought that she would be married and have a family and be famous. And I don't ever thought I didn't ever think I would be famous, but like higher up in my career and
Mhm.
all of these kinds of things. And it's just crazy because I think my therapist told me, if you want that, you also have to be okay with everything that life you dreamed of as a 21-year-old is exactly what you get. And I don't want
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I get so like we live in this age like, oh man, I forgive me for forgetting her name, but the girl who gave the amazing like poem at
Oh,
President Biden's inauguration. Um, I see things like that, and she's like 24. And I'm like,
yeah,
well, I was like, I cannot be, like, I should not be so inspired by a person 10 years younger
totally.
than me. I feel like you see more and more just like people in like high school age, like doing these incredible things.
Yeah,
Social
well,
media. I'm like, if
imagine being in Silicon Valley and every 19-year-old is the CEO of each new startup, and you're like, seriously, fuck off.
so, yeah.
Okay, we're running a little long, so
Sorry.
I'm good. No, that was a great conversation. Um, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I ask everyone. Obviously, first most important question is, when is the last time you shit your pants?
Let's go. Um, so this story is also it was my first sign of like I'm getting old. I'm getting older. Because so it was a couple of years ago, um, and found out my body doesn't react to gluten very well anymore, and I'm
Hey, my
like,
celiac. I'm a no gluten girl.
my mom has it as well, and I got tested for it and I didn't have it, but it's still like it's just sensitive now. And
Yeah, it's
anyways, so
on a range. Like, you're not fine, you can have gluten, or no, you can't. Like, everyone falls somewhere on a range between those two things.
yeah. So I'm at my job, and it's in downtown Dallas, and so I'm in the it's in one of those like skyline buildings, and at the bottom of the building there was a coffee cafe shop, and and I used to like grab lunch there, and I'd go read there for a little bit to pass the time. And very fortunately, I was by myself this day. So I have my lunch, and going to the bathroom just to take a number one. And luckily, they had private bathrooms where it's just like there's no like urinal. It's just like one bathroom for all. And so I go and I'm relieving myself, and as I'm going, I'm like, oh, I need to break wind, and I go to break wind, and I'm like, it was more than wind. There was a little bit of precipitation.
You were that close.
It was that close, and I just like stood there with my wiener in my hand, like not wanting to accept like what's happened, and like uh I
The
just
fact
stood.
that you still call it a wiener.
I thought that'd be funnier. my people, my people. So I'm just standing there. I'm like, this can't be real, and so sure enough, so I'm in this bathroom by myself. Like thankfully, like it's locked. I could take forever. So I'm trying to get cleaned up, and but I'm like, I'm in downtown Dallas, and my car, like, our house is 30 minutes away, and I took the train to get here, um, and so I try my best to clean up, and luckily it wasn't. And oh yes, the cherry on top is I'm wearing gray denim jeans. This so there is markage going on, but luckily it was like low enough to where like if you had to see it, you would have to like lay below me. So I'm just standing in my feces, and I trying to think, and luckily um, my wife worked in the building. She used to work in the building next to me, so her car was there, and we're going on 2 years of marriage, and we've been through our share. We've faced family tragedies. We've faced death and hardship. This was like the number one. Like, this is a true test of our marriage. Me having to tell my wife that I shit my pants, and so I'm walking to her. But at first, I call and luckily my boss is like a friend slash mentor of mine, someone that I felt okay explaining like this is a very delicate situation. And so I call. But he's like the boss of my boss. So first I call him. I'm like, hey, dude, you can't tell anyone this, but I have to go, like, because all my stuff is still at my desk, and I'm just ditching it. I got to go home. I'm like, this is a situation. Like, I'm not gonna be back in the office for probably a couple hours, and it's because of this. And it's just silent for a second, and it's just like, and then it's finally, he's like, as he's laughing, he's like, "Your secret's safe with me, buddy. Good luck." And then he hangs up, and then I think I told like my direct boss. He was a very kind man, but not on that level with him yet. I think I told him like, I was like, I had a, I think I said like I had a malfunction or something like that. Like I don't know how I described it. It was something that didn't make sense.
You're not a computer.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a while. And so Amber comes and meets me, and we're walking to the parking garage, and I'm just like trying not to do the like I have poop in my pants walk. I'm just trying to walk
confidently with shit.
Keep it straight. And Amber's like, so what happened? Like, how this happen? And I was like, I just need to get home. Stop at like, you just need to understand that I need to go home.
Details, you know what
happened. Yeah, we can. I'll tell you about it tonight. It's still a little too raw, and I just like I jetted home with her, and yeah, I think that our my love for her increased that day, because she didn't bet on it. She's like, okay, we'll just go home and pour this on it, throw it in the wash. And yeah, that was it.
Planning on how to save the pants.
She's like, it took
That's amazing.
she's probably expecting it much sooner. So that's probably, she probably wasn't that surprised. So,
Okay,
but yeah.
last question. What are 3 things that you're grateful for right now?
So Amber and our little girl, Cecilia, and more than that, just that they're in good health right now, especially just kind of with the last year. Yeah, we're just really grateful that we haven't had to wrestle with what to do with, if one of us got COVID, knock on wood, and so we're very grateful for that, and very thankful for my current job, and we've been very fortunate to not have to like worry about if I'm going to keep my job or lose it, because Amber had to deal with some. She was furloughed for a couple of months last year, and just the anxiety of not knowing what's going to happen next. And I consider us a very fortunate situation that was kind of that was kind of one of the hardest things we faced last year. So I can only imagine. It just provide a lot of empathy for just anyone just going through anything during this time. So grateful for that. And and then third thing, Amber and I were able to we're able to go on walks. And it's a very small thing, but if there's one thing that I became more grateful for in 2020 is that we thought were trivial things, just like walking your dogs or just like going outside.
Yeah.
Stuff like that became like what kept our sanity alive, just to like we have some part of the day that we are not like cooped up, and things are quiet, at least for a second, for you to believe like there's still like a little bit of normalcy from before lingering, and giving us both like a chance to breathe before having to go back inside and face whatever else the world's bringing. So
Okay, buddy, we are out of time, but thank you so much for doing this. It's so good catching up with you.
Yeah.
I'm so appreciative.
So this doesn't have to be on the podcast, but before you go, I wanted to introduce you to the rest of the fam. Can I do that?
Yeah.
All right, hold on just one second. Hold on. Let me go get him real quick.
Okay.